Welcome to Nantucket Community Television's 2020 election coverage. I'm Charlie Walters. I'm speaking today with Mike Manley, who is a candidate for the 9th Congressional District in Massachusetts to be in the House of Representatives in Washington. Mike, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate your taking the time.
Thank you, Charlie, for having me. I appreciate it, and I hope you're having a good day.
So far, so good. For those people out there who haven't voted yet or who haven't even seen a sample ballot yet, I've got a question about the ballot. When you go to the part for House of Representatives, there's a name and then it says Republican. And there's another name and it says Democrat. And then there's your name and it says Coach Team America. Please tell us what that means.
Okay. When I went up to Mr. Galvin's office with my 2,700 signatures,
that's the Secretary of State.
Secretary of State. I had to go out and get these signatures myself. They wouldn't let me do it by whatever they doing the ballots were that all the other candidates said, because I'm an independent. So I asked them, can I put on the ballot Coach Mike Manley? And they said no. And then I said, I don't want to be unenrolled. Most people out there when I was getting signatures didn't know what unenrolled was. They knew it was independent, but there was an independent party. So I named my team, my party, Team America. So then I decided to put on Coach in parentheses, Team America. So when I go out and say, vote for the coach, that was my little slogan I would tell the people. And they said it couldn't put parentheses. So now it says Coach Team America. I hope that.
Thank you for explaining that. Thanks for explaining that. Tell us why you're running for Congress.
Well, I'm running for Congress for one reason, is that I see the world differently than most people do. I'm 72 years old. I taught physical education and health in New York City, with 17,500 students in a school that had the free lunch. I don't think people are representing me anymore. The Democratic Party has left me with their progressive, and the Republican Party just can't get along. They have 71 seats in Massachusetts. Democratic Party is running unopposed. Now, the governor is not helping out any with this, and that's a disgrace. I don't like to see anybody run unopposed. I didn't think Helen Brady was going to run. She had trouble getting on the ballot. I feel bad for her. Now, I didn't want Congressman Keating to run unopposed. So that's why I went out and got 2,711 signatures, and that's why I'm running. I see the world differently than everybody else.
Let me get to some issues now, and let me start with some broader ones. COVID, how do you think the federal government, not the states, but the federal government is addressing this?
The federal government, I said all along for the last 2 months, this pandemic is very new to everyone. There should be no finger pointing. One party is saying the other one's not handling it right. The other party saying they're doing this. Who do you believe? All I know is that they're fighting and not getting done. America was built on everybody joining together, one team, and getting the problem solved. Finger pointing and blaming people do not help. I think we're trying to get there as fast as possible. Masks has become a big issue. I've been out in the district, 41 towns. I see everyone wearing a mask. When I'm at the grocery stores talking to people, the post offices, everybody is trying to do the best they can. If the government and all the people just get together, we'd solve this problem a lot sooner. And everybody would be a lot happier and not that fearful.
Well, to a large extent, the federal government has dumped this in the laps of the governors. Would you approve of a national mask mandate, or would you rather leave it up to the individuals to choose for themselves?
Well, As an individual, I've been in 49 states. The only state I'm missing is Alaska. And every state has a different opinion about masks. Massachusetts might go with masks, but I'm telling you, Wyoming and Colorado, all those towns, I don't think it would be beneficial for the federal government to have a mask. It just caused more problems. It could become a First Amendment issue. I think it should be in the hands of the governor. They have their finger on the pulse of the problem.
And how do you think Charlie Baker's doing with COVID in Massachusetts?
I think he's doing pretty well, but his restrictions, he's got to ease up a little bit. You know, when bowling alleys and aren't open, and you know, but you can go to the grocery store. I thought he stifled the small businessman in the beginning, mainly because you can go to Target and you can go to Walmart, where I was getting signatures, and then I go to Provincetown and walk down the street and all the little shops are closed. The shop owners would fall in line with the cleaning their property, masks, everything. But that's where I think he dropped the ball. COVID is coming back, even though we have the mask, so we don't know. I think one of the things they all dropped the ball is they don't concentrate on prevention, vitamins, zinc, vitamin D, fresh air, all that stuff. Get exercise. That helps. All I hear is negative stuff all around.
You're running, as you say, Team America. And as it stands now, the entire congressional delegation from Massachusetts is Democrat. And if you believe the polls, it's going to be mostly, if not entirely, that way after the election. If you were elected, you are likely to be the only non-Democrat in that delegation. How would you work with the rest of the delegation and with the rest of Congress, for that matter, because most of them are either Republicans or Democrats?
Well, first of all, we all have a common goal, work for the common good. Our common goal is Massachusetts. Second of all, there's a little known group in Congress called the Problem Solvers. It's a group of congressmen and congresswomen that are bipartisan. It's run by the Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania. And they sit down and they got Nancy Pelosi to, if it's 20 Republicans and 20 Democrats for a particular bill, they would put it onto the floor. And this is a group that I've been researching, and I would try to join that group as an independent, the Problem Solvers group. Look it up. It's a very interesting mix from all over the country.
You're not part of a party, but I'm wondering, would you classify yourself as conservative, liberal, none of the above?
Well, I took the I Vote Guide America, and I put all my answers down. I thought I was slightly conservative, but they rated me moderate, right in the middle. And I think an independent should be a moderate.
All in the eye of the beholder, then.
That's correct.
Let me get to some particular issues. Immigration.
Immigration. Okay. First of all, I always tell people, if you had a dime or a dollar for every time you heard the immigration system in America is broken, you could have quite a few dollar bills. Nobody wants to really tackle this. I had friends in Jersey, New Jersey, where I come from originally. It took them 21 years to get their citizenship. The wife took 19 years to get the citizenship. They talk about DACA. In 1985, my baseball team was made up of mostly Dominicans and Puerto Ricans. The Puerto Rican kids were American. The Dominicans were not. 1985, they got citizenship. And out of that group of about 30 kids that I coached, 9 of them became police officers. Some became teachers. They assimilated into the culture of the United States. And now I'm keeping track of some. One of them wrote the Bill Parcells book, and the other ones moved out of New York City. They're in like the suburbs of New York. So they upgraded their whole life. My plan is, if you're in first grade, second grade, third grade, and you came over with your parents and you go through the same school system, at graduation, you should have 2 ceremonies. For the students that did in no trouble, went through the system, they get their citizenship. Second thing they do, they go through the graduation exercises. Because these kids have nothing to do with anything. I think we should just reevaluate, take up the problem. You have to have the solution, or next 4 years from now, that same problem is going to be brought up. I'm giving everybody a little heads up on what I think. Hopefully somebody picks up the ball and takes it, or I can pick up the ball in Washington and take it myself to the problem solvers.
Does a border wall make sense to you?
The border wall makes sense because it also keeps out human traffickers. It also keeps out the opioids and the guns. I think we have to have a wall or some kind of high-tech surveillance down there. Most people think the wall works. Fine. All I know is one group, the Democrats, are against the wall. They say, well, ask the question why, and in the back of their minds is people that come in are going to vote Democrat. But if the people coming in from foreign countries are going to vote for Republicans, that wall will be built by Democrats. It makes sense to keep out the other stuff, the riffraff and the drugs. But everybody has to be human respect when they do get to the border. You have to have some kind of human respect and compassion for these people, because they just made a horrendous journey to get to this country. And the people in this country keep bad-mouthing what a bad country this is. That's where we're at. We need an attitude of gratitude for the United States. That's my slogan, attitude of gratitude.
Let me shift lanes and ask you about healthcare. Do you think the Affordable Care Act works?
I'm for keeping regular health care. Did it work? We were promised it was going to lower $2,500. You can keep your doctor and all that. I asked the Democrats if Obamacare, or the Affordable Act, I should say the Affordable Care Act, was so good, why did everybody on the stage during the debate raise their hand that they were for Medicare for all? Nobody can answer that question for me. If it was that good, wouldn't they work to better it? Wouldn't they work to go across state lines like the Republicans do? I don't know why they just can't all get together and work out their problems. I'm for having a safety net for the people that don't have health care. I'm all for that. And I'm also for the SNAP program. And it's only a little thing, but it could be a big thing. Give $50 extra to everybody in the SNAP program, and they only can buy vitamins. This way it will prevent a lot of diseases down the road. The Black community, the brown community, the Hispanic community, they're getting hurt by COVID because they don't get the right nutrition. They don't get the right nutrition, and also vitamins, exercise and everything. They're not eating as healthy as everybody else.
You mentioned a dental plan on your website. Can you talk about that a little?
That would be like, if you ever see the tax form, dental problems cause a lot of diseases also. My friend's a dentist across the street. And there is no really good dental insurance, and that's what really hits people hard. You want to get braces? Well, I looked at my team one time and 9 out of the 12 girls all had braces. And that costs money. I think if you ever look at the tax form, and for teachers, there's a little line, you get $250 off. If you're a teacher, you click that box. If you have a dental bill for your kids and you can prove it, if you're going to get audited, you can click off that $2,000 there, so you can get $2,000 right off your taxes.
That's off the taxes, not off the taxable income, correct? Is that what you're saying?
Well, it comes right out of your gross. You have how much you make, and then it's deducted. The $250 is deducted from your gross, and then the $2,000 would be from the gross also.
Okay. Let's get a little more local. You live on the Cape.
Yes.
But the 9th District encompasses a lot more than the Cape and a lot more than the islands. It stretches almost all the way to Boston. It includes New Bedford. It includes parts of Fall River. Nonetheless, this district has the longest coastline of any district in Massachusetts, maybe in the 48 states. Rising seas, climate change in general, these are huge issues, especially in coastal communities. Tell us your thoughts on climate change and the 9th District.
Okay, the 9th District is a very diverse district. I've been to all the towns. I put over 6,500 miles on my car, so I got the proof. It is a very diverse with the coastlines on either side, down the Cape, in the islands, and in the middle you have the farming community. Now, when I worked at Highland Light, that cliff up there has eroded 3 feet every year.
And where is that precisely?
That's in Truro.
Okay.
You moved your lighthouse over here in
Sankaty Head.
Nantucket. Yeah, Sankaty. The same company moved Highland Light in 1997. That coastline since 1797 has eroded 3 feet every year. And during Hurricane Bob, it eroded 30 feet. And then they had to move it in 1997. So the ocean has been a relentless neighbor. It's been eroding for a long time. It's a problem. Now, you put 10 scientists into a room, and you're going to get 10 different answers about climate change. Some people call it a hoax. Some people say it's got to be done by 10 years, scaring everybody. Everybody says 2035. Everybody doesn't have the right answers. My solution is to put climate change problems under the guidelines of NASA. NASA is the one that invented the solar panels. NASA is the one that invented the artificial limbs. Put the scientists in there without any ideology, not being a conservative, not being a liberal. Basically, hash it out in NASA, come out with some kind of program. Is it real? Isn't real? By waiting for them, we can also do little things to help out. And the research. In the old days, during World War II, we had war bonds. I'm saying if the young kids want to get involved, which I think they do, have the parents and have the government, the Treasury Direct that gives out savings bonds, call the bonds, one section of the bonds, green bonds. So now kids who have birthdays, their relatives can give them a $25 green bond. That money goes for research for climate change. We have many different things in the works. We have solar panels. You have a nice turbine right in the middle of the 2 fields up there. And the tide comes in and the tide comes out. There's a lot of research on that. Up in Plymouth, we have a company that makes those turbines. I don't think anybody knows about that. There's a lot of things we can do, but we have to first find out what is real and what isn't real.
As you know, Nantucket relies heavily on the Steamship Authority, the state entity that brings over passengers and freight automobiles. And like so many other businesses, the pandemic has affected their income, their revenues. If the steamship is having trouble getting money, and if the state is having trouble supplying money, is this a proper thing to end up in a federal stimulus package? Or should the state should the state try to figure this out on its own?
Well, first of all, I think Congressman Keating, I got to give his due. He did get about $12 million because he said it 3 times in the debate. And I think that, and I think $9.8 million went for the Steamship Authority.
But
Today,
should that be a permanent? Should that be a permanent thing or for emergencies only?
that was for an emergency.
But
The
in the
good
future,
news-
should it be for emergencies only?
Well, the good news I heard today, I don't know if you heard it, but the Steamship Authority put in for a $60 million loan from the state, and now they rescinded it because they had more passengers, and the $1 million that they were losing every day, they came back up, and then I think they're making a profit, so they took that back. That's the good thing, good news about it. I don't know if you heard it yet, but they did take that back. Your ferry is the lifeline of everything. Everything goes there. You got the freight, everything, and you got 4 diesel engines on that fast ferry, 2 diesel on the other. I'm worried about, if there's a major hurricane somewhere, you're going to have enough fuel to run those ferries. I looked up on your website, from Nantucket about an emergency plan. If there's a hurricane bearing down, I don't know, Charlie, do you have a plan to get off that island? I don't know.
Well, we have, depending on whose figures you believe, we have about 20,000 people who are here year round. And maybe more than
20,000?
that.
Okay.
So how do you get 20,000 people off in an emergency situation?
I'm saying.
I don't have an answer for that.
The ferry only holds 759, and then you can put everybody down in the cargo, where the cars are. So I don't know. That's why I think joint Cape Cod should be in this mix here for disasters.
The old Otis Air Force Base
Yes.
you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah.
You might have, you probably have some, I hope we never have to do it. I hope we never have to get the cars off Cape Cod. Like I said, the last hurricane was in 1991, Hurricane Bob. So, but you
It's hard
never
enough
know.
getting them off in a non-emergency.
Pardon?
It's hard enough to get them off the Cape in a non-emergency.
Yes. And well, that's one of the things I keep saying, because a couple girls that I coach are emergency medical techs. And I'm telling you, it's 50 miles from Provincetown to Barnstable. And if you have to medevac somebody off the island, you have to go right across the Barnstable Cape Cod Hospital. So these plans have to be already implemented. Prevention is the best thing, and you got to practice sometimes. And that's it. That's why you have to have the state-of-the-art. The Cape has to have the state-of-the-art ambulances. Every new technology has to go into that ambulance, because your life is going 50 miles to a nearest hospital.
Last question, visas. The Cape and the islands depend a lot on foreign workers getting visas. For all sorts of reasons, that's been not as good as it should be in the last few years. What are your thoughts on maybe revising that program, changing that program?
Well, first of all, I can't do it myself, and I know that. But I have a plan. I looked up the visas issue of all in the United States. Alaska has the most. Maryland has the most. Delaware has the most. All the ones that are seasonal up in Alaska, the fishing industry and all the things up there, they use the most. You have to have a coalition of all those Congress people. One person can't do it alone. You have to look at the problem. The visas, the J1, H1, whatever it is, some of the people come from like Russia and everything. You see them in the supermarkets, you see them working 2 jobs. They work hard. You need space to house them. But a coalition of congressmen working for this issue, getting a solution for the problem would be very, very beneficial. Someone said that the island is having a problem with help because small families aren't, the cost is too much, and most of the workers are coming in from other countries. So I think it should be taken care of that way. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I think you have to have a coalition of a couple of congressmen. That's why that problem solvers might be very, very beneficial.
Mike Manley, thank you for joining us today on Nantucket Community Television. Good luck with your campaign to become the next congressman from the Massachusetts 9th District.
Thank you, Charlie. I appreciate it.
And for Nantucket Community Television, I'm Charlie Walters. Thank you for tuning in. Join us again next time.